All right. So our topic for tonight, what is cryptography as we use it in cybersecurity? And I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm your instructor for this session, and I'm the founder of Eretmis Academy and the CEO of Eretmis Inc., QSA, PCI QSA company, a cybersecurity consulting firm based out of New York as well. I'm a former United States Army captain. I used to teach at University of Maryland Global Campus and also CTC as well. And I love mentoring, as you can see. So we are jumping into this. We have Eretmis Academy is an authorized CompTIA partner. So what that means is that for everybody on here, and if you're part of the Eretmis family, if you want to sit for any of the CompTIA certification exams, if you get your voucher through us, you get a 20% discount. And that so as partners with CompTIA, we get 20% discount on vouchers, and we push that down onto anybody and everybody who want to sit for the exam in the family, right? So when we purchase vouchers on your behalf, we really don't make anything. It's not like a business for us or anything, but it's just out of goodwill to be able to get you that 20% discount. So depending on the price of the voucher that you want to purchase, it can be a significant amount, right? So we appreciate everybody on here. So that is what we can also do to show our appreciation. And then also attending webinars like this, you can use it as continuous education points when you have to renew your certifications like CompTIA Security Plus and the rest, even for ISACA and others, right? So for the Eretmis family, we have a cybersecurity group, the Eretmis Cybersecurity Group, a WhatsApp group, right? You can join the group and be in the know for everything that is going on within the cybersecurity space. And then also our YouTube channel, where we are transmitting this live time now. So if you are not able to join us on Zoom, you'll be able to also join us on the YouTube channel. And it is going to be there for replay. And we're also going to post the recordings that we are doing here also for replay. So for today, we are going to do something a bit, something that we've not done previously. For cyber news, we are going to have 2 or 3 people within the audience to give us the cyber news for the week, and then we'll move on. Now, the main topic is cryptography in cybersecurity. We've broken it down, the history of cryptography, and build our case all the way to what we have now for cryptography. And in between, we are also going to touch on the programs that we are starting this month, the business cybersecurity business owner program. So learn how to create a cybersecurity business from scratch, a profitable one just coming out of starting it, right? And all the tricks and tips that you need to set up. So anybody who has that entrepreneurial, mindset, wants to just not just work in the security space, but work as a business owner, this is the course for you. That is starting on the 18th. Information for everybody who is registered. I think the information was pushed out sometime yesterday or day before. And for our PCI internship, we are still holding on to it. The time might probably shift a little bit to the right. That is why nothing has been pushed out yet. And our internship, cybersecurity internship, is starting tomorrow. So tomorrow is when we are starting our new cybersecurity internship, and it's going to be fun. And our GRC, our new PCI class, is also starting on the 16th, which is also next week. So you can see we are going to be pretty busy starting next week, and we will jump into our cyber news here shortly. So this is details for the business owner program that is starting on the 18th. And so everything that you need about it is here. We are going to post it also again. That way you'll be able to have access to it as well. The PCI program or the PCI training is also starting on the 16th. So if you want to jump on that also as well. And then the internship, there's normal cybersecurity internship that we work on 10 major projects for 2 of our sister companies is also starting tomorrow, right? So before we jump into today's topic, if you have any cyber news, please, you can raise your virtual hand and we will give you the floor for you to talk about whatever that news is and discuss it briefly, and then we are going to move on to today's topic. So Anybody in the audience who has some, like if you think there was something that came to your attention during the week in terms of cyber news and you think it is worth discussing, please bring it up and we will move forward. Emeka, go ahead.
Hi, Doc. I just wanted to ask when the next cyber internship is going to start.
That'll be ending of February.
Okay. Is there a definitive date or just tentative?
Yeah, tentatively around the 22nd, thereabout, 24th. I'm not sure what day that is, but around 20th to like 28th or 29th. I think it's 29th this year, right? 28th, 29th. That last week is what we are looking at, right?
Okay. Of February, right?
Yes, of February.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Jason, go ahead. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Jason.
Doc. I don't know if everybody knows, but there's a Cloud Plus search that is going around that seems to be very cheap at this moment. If anybody is looking for CompTIA, so with Doc's discount and anybody interested in getting into cloud, that search would be quite good to get. So it's very cheap at this point.
They have a discount on it. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. Doc, don't quote me on this, but I think the price is around $50. But I'm not sure. I have to check. I have to check to completely verify that, but it's very cheap.
Okay. So go to CompTIA's website and check out the voucher price for the Cloud Plus exam, right? Okay. Thank you, Jason. Uche, please go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Doc. Yeah, the SEC, many people are waiting for the SEC.
Please, you are coming in broken.
Okay. Is this better? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, many have been waiting for Bitcoin ETF to be approved by the SEC. And apparently before they made the approval, someone hacked into the SEC Twitter account. And when they did an analysis, they found SEC didn't have two-factor authentication. So their account was compromised and false news was sent. Essentially, though, the SEC made the approval, so it's interesting how this person got this information, inside information.
Okay, thank you, Uche. But I think probably if it was just me, half of what you said were coming in not really good audio, but I think what you're talking about has something to do with the FCC. So the audio wasn't that clear, but thank you for your contribution. We'll move on to Eric. Eric, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Adu. I wanted to remind the people about the IC Square. They have the free certification. So they were looking for a certain amount of people. So people, they can look into that. It's a good way to get into the cybersecurity. It's still free, so they can take advantage of that. I Square.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So IC Square, they are the people who administer CISSP and other certifications. So please go ahead. You can check that. I mean, anything cybersecurity knowledge, you are not wasting your time, right? You can always add to your knowledge base. Even if you are not new to cybersecurity, you can still take a look at that as a form of revision, right? Benjamin,
I'll share a code. I think you need a code to be able to take it for free.
Okay. And where do you get that code?
Yeah,
okay, you're gonna share that.
Oh, yeah, it's a guy. It's a guy who teaches courses as well, but he's based in Dubai. He was teaching one day and then he just shared it, so I copied it.
No, you subscribe and then you get the code.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, they send it to you by
okay.
yes. You don't need to go
but
through someone.
I actually took the exam already.
Oh,
and
that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
Yeah, you don't need a
Congratulations.
code for it. You just sign up and they will open it up for you. I also took the exam, so it's you don't need anything from anybody.
Okay. Okay, great. Benjamin, please go ahead.
Yes, for the classes starting tomorrow for the internship I made the payment earlier today.
Mhm.
How am I getting the information to
Oh, okay.
tomorrow?
So then the info will be sent to you. It was sent, I think, yesterday or the day before, but it will be sent to you if you just got in. They will send it to you tonight, right? So you're going to get it before they meet tomorrow, okay?
So,
But the time is 10 a.m. Eastern, so just be ready at 10 a.m. Eastern. You are going to get the link, the Zoom link to join and all that. Right.
thank you.
All right. Shungo will go and then good luck and we will start.
Yeah, sorry, Doctor. Do I have to step away for a second? But when does your PCI DSS internship start?
So the current class, we anticipate them starting on the 22nd, right? So I'm tracking you. We are going to give you the link, or just talk to us offline. We will put you in that class. That way, everything that is going on, you'll be in the know. Right. All right. Good luck. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Doctor. Sorry, I wanted to know updates on my, I register for the class for the 16th, the one that is going to start on the 16th.
16th. Oh, information on that has not been sent yet, so you'll receive it. Everything was sent except that. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So just be on the lookout. At least over this weekend, you are going to get it.
Okay, I just wanted to know if the Meritize have, said I'm good on my side. So I don't know if they have.
Okay. I mean, like that is a conversation for off this platform. Yeah, so we can discuss that.
Okay.
All right.
And I also wanted to know what time, like the live classes, what
7 p.m. Eastern in the evening.
Oh, in the evening. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right. So I think everything that we're discussing were equally important. So we are going to move on. So for cyber news, please do keep up with cyber news. That is how you know what is going on within the cyberspace. You have to always be in the know on what is going on, especially threats and different threats and vulnerabilities that might come up. Right, that way you are always up to date when it comes to security. All right, so we are starting with cryptography. Everybody, you are welcome once again. And tonight's topic, cryptography, a very important aspect of cybersecurity. So we are starting time now, right? So we are going to jump into, no, this is not cryptography. That is what we need, right? So how cryptography itself outside cybersecurity, what are some of the use cases for cryptography? These are some of the use cases, right? Just in the picture, right? And I'm using the military setting because I'm biased. I love
confidentiality.
Yes, so I love everything military. So we are going to use what I love to do and what I know most, in addition to cybersecurity and every other thing that I know, right? So and cryptography has developed over the years to where it is now, partly because of military warfares, right, and wars and other campaigns. That has really forced us as people to, come up with something that is going to, trump somebody else's, break their communication code. If there was no war and there was nothing and we were not really hard pressed and we were not trying to defeat each other or win, that challenge that pushes innovation, if it wasn't there, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are right now. Right. So that is why we are going to use this as our baseline and then build our case on what cryptography is all about and the different use cases and how it pertains to cybersecurity. Right. So pictures you see here, Pro Harbor are, I'm not sure if most of you or some of you have seen the Pearl Harbor movie, how it all started, how Japan bombed one of the U.S. Navy bases in Hawaii. And we are going to look into all that story, right? And eventually, the U.S. joined the Second World War, and Japan lost in the Pacific, right? How did that happen, and what, like, the loss was based on what? So we are looking at all these. I mean, we are doing cryptography. Why are we looking at war and, people bombing places? You are going to understand that here shortly, right? Because cryptography played a key role in this, and it has played a key role in all sort of warfares over the years up till today. So location of what we just saw happen, Pearl Harbor, U.S. naval base in Honolulu in Hawaii. I wasn't lucky enough to be stationed in Hawaii, but I had friends who were stationed there. Pretty nice place, and I've not been to Hawaii yet on my bucket list. Maybe one of these days, right? So time period, it was between the 1930s and 41. So for the Second World War. And what brought about this? Why would Japan just, bomb a U.S. naval base out of what? So it was a strategy that they were using because U.S. placed a sanction on them, and the sanction was due to the fact that they were kind of becoming unbecoming in the Asia region, right? And the U.S. were trying to, put them in check. So the politics of that, we'll leave that for politicians and people who love politics to discuss. But we are looking at it from a military standpoint, and then also its relationship to cryptography, right? So Japan's way of countering the sanctions that were placed on it was to not to announce a war on the US, but sneak in the dark and just destroy something that is really huge, and that will really hit US really hard, right? So they decided to do an invasive attack, and they attacked Pearl Harbor, and they bombed. They destroyed a lot of ships and killed a whole bunch of people. But then their main targets, they really couldn't hit because it wasn't there. They were looking for more fleet and more. They were specifically looking for aircraft that were carrying more planes and the rest, and then also like oil and others. But they couldn't. Like, those were not there by chance when they got there, right? It wasn't planned because the US didn't know that was going to happen. So when that happened, the attack leading to the attack was the sanction and everything. So Japan decided, they thought when they do that, they are going to cripple the United States, and they'll have their way. Now, what that did was that the US wasn't part of the Second World War. So that also made the US declare war on Japan. And then Japan had their allies, some in Europe. So I think it was Italy and Germany joined Japan, and so they became a group, and then US and their allies also were on the other side. So they started. So US joined the Second World War pretty much. Now for the fight on the Pacific and going back and forth between US and Japan, eventually Japan lost, and they lost not because they didn't have their manpower or they didn't have the military strength. They had all of that. Probably they could have even defeated the United States, right? But they lost on cryptography. That is why we are bringing this in. It was cryptography that made them lose, right? And from anybody who's, I mean, if you're a fan of military history or like you are in the military and you've been to, even if you've not, I mean, I'm not even going to use real war, right? During training sessions and the rest, if one, maybe like if a platoon is attacking another platoon and everything that they are saying over the radio, you are able to hear it and they are coming to attack you, I don't think you are going to stay there when they get there, right? You are probably going to move. And if like you are able to intercept the information or their communication and you understand what they are saying, you'll be able to use that to your advantage, right? In warfare, that is pretty much is information. If you're able to intercept information and you're able to, if it is coded and you're able to break the code, you are going to be the winner eventually, right? So that is how Japan lost. It wasn't because they didn't have the military strength or anything. The US was able to break their code. And the code is what we are going to discuss under cryptography, right? So the US were like, they were more, they tried harder to break their code and they were successful. And because of that, the places that they were communicating that they were going to meet, where they were going to go, the US could easily find them and destroy their carriers and the rest. And they didn't know how they were able to find out that they were taking that route, right? So I remember back in the day in some training exercises and during like deployments, I think for one specific training exercise, when I was stationed in a training site, you know, we kind of simulate war, right? And then what we do is we had, you know, we could intercept traffic or we could enter like the network of the other side. And then when we do, sometimes we will end up either taking like their commands. So if they are going food elsewhere, we will be there before they get there and we will take the food. So their soldiers wouldn't get anything to eat or anything to drink for days, right? And how well are you going to fight if you like you are hungry, you are working all day, you are hungry, there's no food, there's no water. So or sometimes like we will get there and we will just like destroy everything. So just pour all their water away, and as soon as like that is left there, we will just go and take it or destroy it, right? And that made them really ineffective, right? And then also if you're able to intercept their radio traffic, we will end up like playing Celine Dion or some funny music on their network and nobody is able to talk to each other, right? So if they're going somewhere and they needed backup, they're on their own, right? So in military warfare and, you know, in other settings like that, it is not only just what you have in terms of weapons and stuff. Communication is key. And when it comes to communication, how do you keep your communication safe and secret? Cryptography, right? So we move on. So how did the US break the Japanese communication code? And that made them win. So the US, they were so bent on doing this, they had established a code breaking unit, right? So if you know like the military, of you've been in the military, we have like the signal side, we have Intel. So like signal, they are kind of the IT team, and Intel, I think back in the day, they had Signal and Intel together as a service, as a single unit. So they had a specific unit within Signal that was just all they did all day was trying to break the code, the Japanese code. And what was the code? So code is simply if between me and you, right, we say something and we are the only ones who understand. Right. So maybe I'm saying come, but I say it, or go, but I say it in a different way that only you understand. Somebody else will be there. They wouldn't know what we are talking about. So that means whatever conversation we are having is coded. Now, if we are not just saying it, but then we are transmitting it through like a telegram, or we are sending a letter or something of that sort, then when they capture or when they intercept that traffic, and they don't understand what we are sending, it is really of no use. So the US decided to intercept a lot of them and try to break that code, right? So how are they trying to break it? By putting the pieces together, trying to make it make sense. If they are able to get, and at that time they had like a code book, right? So I'll have a code book whereby when you take it, if you look at, you know, okay, so A is being represented by maybe G, right? So then if you see my message, you are going to start replacing, okay, so A here is G, B here is D. So eventually you'll be able to see exactly what I was sending in plain text. So the US had a dedicated team doing that and understanding the Japanese cipher system, also learning. So this team, all they did was to learn everything about how the Japanese were communicating and what type of code they were using. The Japanese were using a popular one at that time. It was called the JN25 naval code. And also, so they were not just using it if there is no war, they were using it in a diplomatic setting, right? Between countries, they are, even for those who say we are allied countries, they are still kind of spying on each other and trying to get something over each other, right? So countries are always either diplomatic war or a full-blown military war. So they are always kind of spying on each other and trying to get ahead of each other.
Before I come back to it.
Right. So now this is how the US was able to, go about it. I'm not sure if the Japanese had a full-blown unit that was also trying to break the code like the US code. So we are going to move on. So the code breaking techniques that they had, that they tried to come up with, and so they came up with patterns that was able to help them to, put the different codes together, and then if they are lucky and they're able to capture somebody with a code book, that also helps. And then also, eventually they were able to break the code so they could understand messages that were being sent, and the Japanese didn't know that, right? The Japanese didn't know they had, broken their code, and that is what led to their defeat, right? So it wasn't like they didn't know what they were doing military-wise, but the US was able to get ahead of them in terms of cryptography. So now we will jump into what is cryptography in the first place, right? So cryptography is a way that we keep information safe, private, and secure, right? So there are different ways that we do that. We are going to look at that in our modern day, right? But cryptography has been around for years, hundreds of years, right? It didn't start today. And how we have it today wasn't how it was. So we are going to look at some of the history, when it comes to cryptography, where it started, or when we really realized this is cryptography, coming all the way down to what we have it today. Right? So in simple terms, like what I was saying previously, if between you and your friend or you and your friends, you have, some coded message that only that group understands, that is, you are practicing cryptography, right? How you come up with that code depends on you. You can, use anything and everything, right? So that helps you to keep others out of, the information that you are moving around, right? So cryptography makes it difficult for others to understand what we are sending, or even when they do intercept it, they are unable to read it, right? So that is the basics or the basic understanding of cryptography, just keeping your communication private and secure. And how to do that is what we are going to look at, right? So we can also say it is the art of writing and solving codes, and it's been around for a very long time. So in ancient days, like the Egyptian times and Roman times, they were using cryptography. The Egyptian time, it was a bit simple. Roman time, it was developed, it was scaling up. And in like Roman times, they were using machines to do this. And then Middle Age, so kings and queens, when they had all these like monarchies, they were also using cryptography to send information from point A to point B. So even if you intercept their letters or anything that they were sending, you wouldn't be able to read it because it was unreadable. You will see it as it is, but it wasn't a plain language that you could read, right? And it developed to the point where a guy named Batista also came up with another tool that could be used for cryptography in the 18th and 19th centuries. It became a bit complex, right? 20th century, a bit more complex. During the World War, it even, it was like developed, I think, more between this time frame than from the ancient time to the 20th century because of the World War. Everybody was trying to, win. So how you are going to win is how well your communication is secure, right? So wars, although war is not good, but at least it also it helps and it forces us to really be innovative and think outside the box. So things that we would normally, if everything was fine, we wouldn't be pressing and pushing for. War helps us to do that, right? So maybe probably that is one good side of war. Now, 21st century, in this digital era, we also have a way of doing cryptography, and it's an improved way than how it started from the past. So we are moving forward. This is kind of a cool timeline of how cryptography has evolved over the years, all the way to, so it started with nothing, building up to where we had like machines, and then all the way down to what we have today. So what we have today is, not exactly this, but at least you get the timeline, right? And we are going to look at some of the cryptographic tools or machines that have been used over the past. Now, we don't necessarily use a machine, it's all software, right? But this kind of also gives you the idea of how long cryptography has been around for a while, and how it has developed over the years, right? So we are going to look at some of the use of cryptography in cybersecurity, right? How do we really use cryptography in cybersecurity? We know it is used to hide information or hide our communication from people we don't want to know. So how do we really use it, right? In security, it is one of the core pillars in cybersecurity, right? Without cryptography, I don't think cybersecurity. I'm not really sure how we will go about protecting our data when it is moving from point A to point B, or when we are storing it, right? That will be almost impossible, right? But thank God we have cryptography, and the technologies that come with it. We are able to protect our data, right? So cryptography borders on in security. The key pillars of cybersecurity, like this is security 101, CIA. So confidentiality, integrity, availability. Everybody will learn that first day in cybersecurity class. Now, where does cryptography fit in this equation, right? Out of the three, confidentiality, integrity, availability. Felix, I think Felix wants to answer that. Go ahead, Felix.
So it will ensure confidentiality.
Okay. Yes, confidentiality.
And integrity as well.
Yes.
Yeah, integrity.
Yes. So we are going to jump into how this is really done, and then we will give the floor for everybody to chime in, right? So out of the three, confidentiality, integrity, availability, cryptography helps all three, but specifically confidentiality and integrity, right? And if confidentiality and integrity are well enforced, then it will also help availability in the long run, right? So in our communication, and everything else that we do with data, cryptography plays a key role in terms of when it comes to how we are going to enforce confidentiality and integrity, right? So it forms like a really essential or critical part of security, right? It is not just some tool or some technique that we use, but it is a fundamental part of cybersecurity, right? So that is why it is really important. And when we are looking at the background leading to like military campaigns, those we are not looking at it predominantly in the context of cybersecurity per se, but the intent of cryptography is the same in the cybersecurity space, right? So protecting confidentiality and integrity. In military campaigns, it is the same thing. In cybersecurity and in IT, same thing, right? So what are some of the key objectives of cryptography, what we just mentioned? And these key objectives, these core objectives is in view of cybersecurity, right? So as it pertains to cybersecurity. So in cybersecurity, we are looking at confidentiality, integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and we are going to get into those here shortly. So when we say confidentiality, what are we really talking about? Right, confidentiality, a very simple example. Right now, let's say, let me just pick on somebody. Let's say Abigail we are all in this room. Abigail has a call, and she doesn't want anybody to hear what she's talking about. What is she going to do? She's either going to step out, right, or ask everybody to leave. But then we are like 120 on here, so I think Abigail will leave at this point. So she will leave and go listen to her call and come back. Now, what did she do right there? She is trying to keep the information she's discussing on the phone private, right? And if you try to keep information private, you are trying to keep the information confidential, right? So confidentiality is keeping your information data, your data, your systems private, right? So only people, if maybe Abigail wanted Dr. Edu to know what she's talking about, she's probably going to call me out. So we are both going to step outside. She's going to put the phone on loudspeaker, and we will both hear what is going on, right? If not, then she's going to go alone. So if she wants me to hear it, then she's going to go. She's going to give me that access for me to hear it. If not, then I'm not going to hear it. Now, Abigail has to make sure where she's standing or where she's going to listen to her call. There is no way somebody can, intrude, or somebody can just listen in without her knowing or giving that person the permission. Right. So that is enforcing your confidentiality or your privacy. Right. So you only allow people that you want to have access to that information to have access to it. And you prevent people that you don't want to have access to that information from having access to that information. So that is simply confidentiality. Now, in cybersecurity, cryptography helps us to do that, right? And we are going to discuss how it helps us to do that, right? There are different things under cryptography that helps us to do this. Now, when it comes to integrity, it is making sure that the information stays as it is. Nobody changes it. If we do not give them that like if we don't give them that chance to change it or that permission to change it, or if we don't want it to be changed, right? So example, Abigail sends a letter to Dr. Edu, right? It gets intercepted by Abdul, and Abdul just, add some stuff to it, right? It's just like if you write a check, right? Mostly they will ask you to write maybe $500 and write only behind it or sign a line after the $500. Because guess what? You don't want somebody to be adding zeros to your 500, right? If somebody adds a zero to your 500, the integrity of your check, has been compromised, right? If you wrote 500 and there is nothing else, maybe even in letters, somebody can add something to it, right? So the moment something is added to it, the integrity of it has changed. The purity state of your check is not the same because somebody has added something to it. Right? Same thing with your information. So if anything is added to it or somebody takes something out of it, the integrity of it has been compromised. Right? Now, cryptography helps us to do that also as well. So we are going to look at how cryptography helps us to do this. Right? So I think maybe now, probably if you are not too familiar with cryptography, you are getting, slowly but surely getting to understand how it plays out in cybersecurity based on how it was used in, military settings. Similar way is how, and even more ways is how it is being used here. Right. So we come to authentication and non-repudiation. Now, non-repudiation is more of a legal term, right? It's simply preventing people from saying they didn't take actions that they took. Right. So, for example, and this is a good example that I like to always use. So, if you give your debit card to somebody and you give them your PIN, and they go to the ATM and they withdraw $1,000 from your debit card, and then you turn around and you go to the bank and you tell them that was fraud. You didn't give your it wasn't you who performed that transaction, so they should give your money back to you. They are going to look at you like you are growing trees on your forehead, right? If somebody has your card and they have your PIN, that person is you. They don't care if it's you or not, it's you. That is not repudiation. So you cannot go back and it wasn't me. I mean, but if somebody uses your credit card to make in PCI, we call it card not present transaction. So you were not there. They probably purchased something online. If you go to the bank or if you are disputing that transaction, yes, of course, bad people are all over the place. Maybe somebody got to know your, credit card information, so they'll give you the money back, right? Because for that transaction, a PIN wasn't required, and you are the only one who should know that PIN, right? But for your debit card at the ATM machine, good luck trying to get your money back. That ain't gonna happen, right? So that is non-repudiation, right? And another example, if you sign a contract using your not your electronic signature but digital signature, you cannot go back and say I'm not the one who signed it, because you have certificates attached to your signature that is only assigned to you, right? So if somebody had access to your PC and they signed it, they don't care, that person is you. So cryptography helps us to enforce non-repudiation. So people cannot take actions and go back and say, oh, it wasn't me, so nothing applies to me, or give me my money back. That is not going to happen, right? Authentication, how we are given permission or how we are given access to systems, software, platforms. When you are trying to log into Facebook, all these other platforms, you use your username, your password, and you are going to be authenticated, right? Now, all that is made possible and made easy and made secure by cryptography, right? So there's a lot of use cases for cryptography in cybersecurity. Now, what are some of the cryptographic techniques that we have now in today's day and age, right? Everybody here has heard about encryption, probably heard about hashing and the rest, but encryption is more popular than any of the cryptographic functions. And encryption, what is really the meaning of encryption? Anybody on here want to help or chime in? What is encryption? Go ahead, Prince.
So encryption is basically converting plain text to ciphertext.
Okay, Prince, you are getting too technical. I want somebody to break it down. Simple layman terms that everybody can understand. O'Brien, please go ahead.
It's to decode information.
You're also too technical. LM, go ahead.
Can I try?
Yeah, try LM. Give it a shot.
Yeah, it just hiding data. So it's not just hiding data. Hiding data, when you transmit or telling somebody.
Okay.
I think it's just making
can I try?
Great try.
It's just making unreadable, making
Can I?
information unreadable.
Okay, so Romeo, go ahead. I'm just going by people with their virtual hand up. Go ahead, Romeo.
Yeah, so encryption is the process of converting information and scrambling it to make it undecipherable, unreadable.
Okay. So what I'm trying to have everybody do on here is to take a technical definition and really make it everyday definition that your grandma can understand, right? Ransford, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So let me put it in simple terms. Like it's like putting keeping something in a box with and having a key on it. So you have to get the key to be able to get what is in the box.
Okay, so Ransford, you are like yours is even more confusing. What is a key and what is a box?
No, like if you have information and you keep it and give access to it for only the person that is meant to have it.
Yeah, but I understand what you are saying from a technical standpoint, but I'm pretending to be grandpa. And I don't understand what you are talking about.
Doctor, can
I? Please give me a second. I'm just going down the list. So if you are not, your hand is not. Ifema, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. So encryption is the process of converting data into a form that can only be understood by those that have the encryption key?
Also too technical.
Technical.
So pretend you are explaining this to grandpa, right? And you are talking about cipher key, cipher test and plain test and key and bugs. I mean, really, is grandpa really going to understand what you're talking about? Francis, go ahead. Oh, everybody is too technical. So now I'm, it even becomes more harder.
I can try.
Okay, go ahead.
I would say,
If you think you speak grandpa language, please go ahead. You can explain.
Okay. All right. So it's like taking the language that you and I write in, English, taking that plain English text and hiding it such that no one else can read it, because I don't want them to read it. I just want the person that I'm sending it to be able to read it. And in order for me to do that, if it's there are two methods of doing that. If it's the symmetric encryption, I will give them one key. Like we have one key that we exchange and use for that particular type of encryption.
I think you're also getting too technical.
Okay, but the first part was good though. Like grandpa could have understood that. Right?
Yeah, like the first person you were okay, and then you started losing grandpa around.
Okay, so plain English into something that I will hide such that only the person that I want to communicate with is able to see it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good try.
Okay,
I think somebody said they wanted to give it a shot, and I think that boy
Me
sounded
too, dog. Me too.
Can I give it a shot?
That voice sounded like
sending a letter in an envelope so that nobody sees what you've written on the Yeah, okay. Sending a letter in an envelope.
Yeah, I'll take that. I had a voice like Kenny.
Can I give it a shot?
If I'm
good.
wrong, or my ears
I'm
are.
here too, Doc. I want to try as well.
Oh, was that Kenny?
Yeah, it was me. So I was just gonna make it simple.
This is Francis.
Okay, Francis. Thank you. So Kenny, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just
my ears was not. My ears were not playing games on me. I can remember good. Like I can hear good. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, how you doing, Dr. Du?
Great.
Yeah, so I was just gonna chime in, just say that it's the process of protecting the data that you want to send to somebody, and making sure that they have access to it, like a key. Like, to make it simple, like you send anything to them, but you just need them to be able to be the only one to know what you sent them.
Okay.
Doctor, can I try? This is Mamadou Diallo.
Okay, give it a shot. And then,
Doc, can I try?
That's me first.
Jason, give it a shot, and then we are going to see if we can have like two more people give it a shot, and then we move on.
I'm here, doctor.
Doctor, can I try?
Making information available to a select people, to only the person that you're sending it to, and the person who sent it.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think Uchiba, please go ahead.
Yeah.
You also wanted to give it a shot.
Yes, I would say cryptography is simply converting information into another form that can no longer be understood.
Okay, good. Uchiba, go ahead.
Okay. Encryption is just a security techniques that convert information into a code to prevent unauthorized access.
Uche, you just lost grandpa.
Doctor, can I?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. So this will be like the last try, and we are going to move.
Oh, I wanted to try.
Oh, you wanted? Okay. Susan, we'll give you a shot.
What was the question?
Go ahead, please.
Me too. Me too, doctor.
Doctor.
Okay.
So I think encryption is the way of making your message not readable or not understandable to someone that is not intended for.
Okay. I'll take that. Susanna, please go ahead.
Okay, so encryption is
if you're explaining it to grandpa, if grandpa speaks another language, you will use the language if the others don't understand. So you make sure grandpa is going to understand what you're saying, but in another language, so that it's hidden. That's it.
You have any plan?
Okay, so
I have a simple one, Doc.
Okay, go ahead.
Doc.
Go ahead,
Okay,
read that.
so
Go ahead.
encryption is sending an information to somebody, but you send it in a form that even if another person sees it, they will not be able to understand what's the message that you have sent. And then you will be the only one who will make it possible for the intended recipient to understand what you are saying after you have been you have made it possible for that person to understand. So the message will be sent, but it will be in a form that if another person sees it, it will be so confusing, they will not be able to make a meaning out of it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think
Joe.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for grandpa, I'll let him know that grandpa, this is a way of hiding information I'm sending to you, that you will be the only person who can read it.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'll take that also. So everybody did well. So I mean, I was trying to have you go off the normal technical definition, right? And that is how you'll be able to really understand and break it down. It's very easy for you to go the normal traditional technical definition and just know it, but not really know it that well, right? So, but everybody on here, from what you're saying, you understand encryption, right? But to break it down to grandpa or to somebody with no technical ears to hear this, you have to do more work than just talking about keys and types of encryption and the rest, right? We are just looking at encryption as a whole, not even like breaking it down to symmetric and asymmetric, right? So the main objective behind encryption is to make sure the message that you are sending is made unreadable. And why are we making it unreadable? That way, if the message is intercepted before it gets to the recipient, whoever has the information wouldn't be able to do anything with it, right? So I think somebody was talking about envelopes and letter. If we want to take that example, I'm writing a letter to Joe, right? I've written the letter. Instead of putting the letter in an envelope, I'm going to shred the letter, right? Shred it and also make it really unreadable. Shred it to the point where you can't read it or put it back together, right? And then put it in an envelope, send it to Joe. On the way to Joe, when somebody intercepts that envelope and they open it, it's a bunch of nothing, right? They are just going to close it back and give it to whoever is sending it. Okay, whatever, take your envelope and go away. It is of no use. So let's say if that wasn't a letter and it was a check for $1 million and it has been shredded into the point where for you who has intercepted it, you can't really put it together and go take the money. So you are just going to, even if you have it, the money is still going to be where it needs to be. You wouldn't be able to go cash it. But when it gets to the recipient also has a way of putting all that pieces together and coming up with a check or coming up with a letter to be able to read everything that is on it. Right. So that is the idea behind encryption. So making sure information you are moving from point A to point B is made unreadable by any means, that the means through which it is made unreadable, we are going to discuss that, but it is made unreadable. So if, for example, we can shred it, we can, melt it if it's metal. And then when it gets to whoever is going to be the recipient, they also have a way of bringing the information or bringing the pieces back to the original state, and they will be able to get the information, right? So at your point where you are shredding, you are melting, or you are doing whatever to make it unreadable, let's say that is the code. You are coding it. Then when it gets to the point where they have to put it together, they are decoding it. Right? So if they don't decode it, they wouldn't know which piece goes where. So they will decode it, put it together. Oh, now they have the whole entire story. So they'll be able to use the check, they'll be able to use the letter and whatever information we're sending them. Right? Now, anybody in between, from the sender to the recipient, anybody in between, when they intercept the information, they have the information, but it's really a bunch of nothing. Right? So now when we want to get technical, the way that we are going to shred it or melt it or make it unreadable is what, we have two types or two ways of doing that. On the technical side, we have two ways of doing that, right? Under encryption, we have the symmetric way and the asymmetric way, right? And what is the main difference between these two? Symmetric way and asymmetric way of making information unreadable. That way, if an attacker has his hand on it, it is really, they can really do nothing with it, right? So for the symmetric, we are using what we call a key, right? And we will just take it as a key. We wouldn't get too deep into that. A key. So we use for symmetric, just remember symmetric, one key, asymmetric, two keys, right? So now where are we talking about keys and all that? Somebody was also mentioning a box. So now with the keys coming into the, whole explanation, then we have to also, kind of take our explanation to a different level. And like, if you can see, I want everybody to learn something from this, right? How to break down cybersecurity concepts into simple, easy, everyday life for grandpa to understand is what I'm doing, right? And for you to be able to do that, you have to really think outside the traditional definition that you read in books, right? So ask yourself, if it was grandpa, or what really, are they trying to say with this? Because it's very easy for you to just define and just use whatever that they give you and define. But until you are able to break it down like grandpa, you understand it, but not really in depth, right? So hopefully everybody's taking some notes from this one, right? So do this with yourself. Do this with yourself until the point where no matter what the concept is, you are not just taking the face value definitions that they are given, you're able to break it down really to the point where you are not using their terminologies in there too. And then if you want to go technical and really use like their terminologies, you should be able to also do that. I mean, like, that is the easy part. But to break it down grandpa style is a bit hard, right? So now we are getting into the keys. So how the keys come into, remember I said we are going to make it unreadable, and then when the receiver receives it, the receiver will be able to put it together and make it readable, right? So to make it unreadable, we use a key, right? To make it readable, we also use a key. Now, under the first type of encryption, right, which is symmetric, we use just one key to make it unreadable. And then when we are sending the letter, we are sending the check, we are sending like whatever we are sending, we are going to find a way of getting the key that we use to make it unreadable to the receiver. And the receiver will use the same key to make it readable, right? So you can look at it, if you want to break it down in a more very simplified terms. So let's say it's a letter that we are sending to Joe, right? We are going to shred the letter. So we shred the letter, and then for us as the senders, now the receiver also has a special machine, which you just have to dump everything on it, and it will be able to, put everything together, and you're going to get the letter back exactly in the original state. Now, caveat to this is, for us to the machine that we are using to shred the letter, we need a key, and it's the same key that we are going to use for the machine that is going to be used to put everything back together. Right? That is under the symmetric type of encryption. So we are using one key to do the shredding. The technical term is to encrypt, and the putting together on the other side, technical term is to decrypt. So we've moved past code and decoding. It's encrypting and decrypting. So we use the same key for encrypting, that is making it unreadable, decrypting, making it readable. Now, for the information before we encrypt it, the technical term that we use for it is plain text. It's in like what we are looking at is in plain English. The moment we make it unreadable, it becomes what we call cipher text. Right? And the word cipher text, who knows? Okay, why do we call it cipher text, and where did the word cipher come from? Anybody knows? Anyone want to chime in? Why do we call it cipher text?
I know it's like a encrypted language. When they used to do, I guess it's like a military term for like a language of like hiding your information from like the other country in a battle.
Yeah, but the word cipher itself, forget about the test. The word cipher, like where did it come from?
Like,
Or like what does it mean?
Like secrecy.
Okay.
From the cipher.
Okay, so cipher. Now we will get back to cipher again. So just hold your guns. We are going to move into algorithms, and then we will come back to algorithms and cipher. The difference between the two. Brian, go ahead.
I think cipher is I think it's an Arabic word that means zero or something.
Encoding information.
Yeah, zero, like means zero information.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. So
it's actually Latin.
Comes from cybernetics.
Like secret writing or something like that.
Yeah. So it's getting more interesting. Okay, so everybody hold your guns. We are going to move on here and we come back to all that. Right. So, mostly like what I'm doing is what you should be doing when you are reading some of these or going through. Right. And I bet you if you take that approach to looking at everything security, you are going to get to the point where now you will see a problem and you'll be able to dissect everything in your head and becomes a very simple, almost zero to nothing problem. But then it will look like a mountain for us, right? Because you really understand the fundamentals and the basics well. Now, let's move into the other type of encryption that is asymmetric. So asymmetric uses two keys. So now in this case, or under this type, instead of using the same key to make the data unreadable and using the same key to make it readable, we have two keys, right? So we use one to make it unreadable and we use one to make it readable. And those two keys, we call them public and private keys. So you use the private to make it unreadable, and that private key stays with the sender. It doesn't go with the transportation of the data or the transmission of the data. It stays with the sender. Now the sender will send the corresponding public key to the recipient, and the recipient will use that to make the information readable, right? So we are not going to get too deep into how to use both in what circumstances.
Doctor, please, can you
Yes,
repeat that again? Please repeat that again. I missed.
Okay, for the asymmetric. Okay, so what I was saying was that for
about the public, and I was waiting for that part. Public.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So for asymmetric encryption, that type of encryption, we use two keys to make the information unreadable and readable when it gets to the recipient. Right now, the two keys, we call them public and private. Now, always remember this: for the private is for the individual or the sender who is making the data unreadable. The private is for like both keys. Okay, let me just go back. Now, both keys, so let me also, go back all the way to symmetric. So for symmetric encryption, we're using the one key, right? The key belongs to whoever initiates the communication or whoever, is going to do the encryption, the sender. So not whoever, the sender. So the key belongs to the sender. But then the same key will be transported to the recipient, and the recipient will use that same key to make the data readable, right? For asymmetric, on the other hand, we are using 2 keys, and those 2 keys still belongs to the sender, right? And the sender has 2 keys under asymmetric, and those 2 keys are, one is a public key, one is a private key. They both belongs to the sender. Now, when the sender wants to make the data unreadable, he will use his private key, and the private key always stays with the sender. It doesn't go with the data to the recipient. It stays with the sender, right? Now, when the data is being transmitted to the recipient, it goes with the public key of the sender. So when the recipient receives the data, they will use the public key, which is the corresponding, which has the corresponding private key for that specific sender. They will use the public key to make the data readable, or to decrypt the data to make it readable. So hopefully that helps. Both keys, private.
Doctor.
Yes.
Doctor.
No,
Doctor.
Is this like
I appreciate.
I think I don't know. Please correct me. I thought that the recipient is the sender uses the recipient's public key to encrypt the data, and then the recipient uses their private key to decrypt the data. Is that true?
So there are 2 use cases, right?
Because they each have private and public.
No, wait. You are confusing yourself. Now we are going into the use cases of asymmetric keys. So if you are sending, if you are digitally signing, you are like if you are let me mute everybody. All right. So if you are signing, or if you are signing an email, right? You want to digitally sign an email and send it. The combination is different. If you are just sending data and you are encrypting it, the combination is different. So regardless of how you look at it, it is the same principle that I'm explaining. You are confusing the use case where you are digitally signing something and sending it to maybe John, right? And then also if you are just encrypting data and sending it to John. The use of the private key and public keys, they are the opposites of each other.
Okay.
Right. So the principle is the same. Whoever is sending it, right? If you are not digitally signing anything, I'm just sending you information. I'm going to use everything me, right? And then on the flip side, if it is an email that I'm digitally signing, it is going to be the other way around, right? But for everybody to easily understand, because when you get, if you don't understand what I'm explaining now, and you try to add on the other use case whereby you are using the recipient's public key to do the encryption, and then signing and sending it to the recipient and them using their private key, now you're really going to get lost. Right. So for asymmetric, public and private, now the pair, like that is a pair, which if we are using my private key to encrypt, then you should use my public key to decrypt. If we are using your public key to encrypt, then you should use your private key to decrypt. Right. So hopefully everybody gets that piece. Now, if you've gone through entry level, you know, we took a lot of time to break this down. If you haven't, you can jump into entry level and it will be broken down even further for you, and the different use cases, just like what you were bringing up in instances where we use the recipient's public to encrypt, and then the recipient to encrypt with their private, right? So,
Doctor.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry that I'm still taking you back. I you know, there are some terms that I just accept them, like not because I understand how I mean the processes behind it. I understand public and private. So the main reason I said I was waiting for that particular section for you to explain. So based on your explanation right now, This is what I have in my. This is the picture I have, the mental picture I have in my head. It means that, let's say I'm the sender. I'm sending you a message, right? So once I send you a message, that message goes with both public and private, like a packet together, right?
No. Public key always stays with the owner.
Okay.
Private key, wait, my bad. Private key always stays, it is private.
Okay.
Right? So just pick the meaning from the words, right? Public key is public. It's for you, but it's public. You can give it to anybody.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Private
so that means it's like a
it just stays
signature.
with you.
It's like a signature, digital signature. So you have one that is public, one that is private. So you use the public to send, then you use the private. It's like it's on every system, right?
Yeah. So what you have to get from this is this: the keys, the asymmetric key, it comes in a pair, public and private.
Okay.
Now I cannot use my private key to encrypt, and you will use your public key to decrypt. It doesn't work that way, because that is not a pair. The pair belongs to one person. So if we are using your public to decrypt, it is your private that we're going to use to decrypt, right? If we use your private to encrypt, we use your public, so vice versa. But it all has to be from one person in the equation. That is the key thing that you have to take.
Okay.
Right. So you should, that is the the fundamental thing that everybody should understand. Whoever is doing the encryption or the decryption, it is whoever is doing the encryption first, whoever's key that we are using, it is the same key pair that is used for the other thing. So if we are using one of your keys to do encryption, the other key will be used for decryption, right?
Yeah,
now,
but this way I'm getting, sorry, doctor, this way I'm not getting confused. You send me a message, right? So you encrypted it with your public key, right? So, and because you mentioned it has to come from the same source.
Wait, so I'm sending you a message. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're sending me a message. That message has been encrypted with your public key.
Wait, so if I'm sending you the message, I can if I encrypt it if I'm encrypting the message with my public key, then if the message comes to you, what are you going to use to decrypt it?
I'm going to use my private key.
No, not yours. It all has to be from me.
Okay, I'm using that means I have to use your private key.
No, you can't use my private key.
Oh Lord.
Private key is private.
So where is the private key coming from?
No, private key is private. Private key stays with the owner of the keys of that pair.
Okay. So and you said it doesn't go with the message itself. It doesn't go with the messages.
Like the example that I don't remember who was. So for the example that please remind me, who was that? Was that okay, let's just move on. So for the example, so if you are sending me something, right? So let's say you want to digitally sign, or you are just sending me something, and you are using, so two ways, you can use my public key. So you are going to establish, behind the scenes, the system is going to establish that connection, and you will use my public key to encrypt and send it to me. Now I can use my private key to decrypt it because it's that pair. But if you use your private key to encrypt, then you have to send along, or I have to, in one way or the other, get your public key to decrypt. So
I was thinking that only private key can decrypt, where public can encrypt.
No, it doesn't work that way. They can both do decryption and encryption, depending on the use case. But the pair, you always have to use the pair.
Oh, okay, I got it. Now, thank you for
clarifying. So if you are sending me something, and you are you cannot use your public key. Oh, I think we have to mute everyone. I'm back. So if you are going back and forth on this, please bear with it. it can get a bit confusing. And that is the reason why I didn't even bring in the different use cases, because we are not going that in depth. But just to clear it, you can use public key and private key. Public key can be used to encrypt and decrypt. Private key can be used to encrypt and decrypt, depending on the use case. But the pair, if the public and private key belongs to the same person, and one was used to encrypt or decrypt, the other one will have to do the other.
Doc, I have a question. Quick question,
Go ahead.
please. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to get the whole scenario now. Like, you said that if you use your private key to send a message, now, how am I going to get their public key to open it?
Oh, I mean, you don't like, if I use my private key to encrypt, and I'm sending the message to you.
Yes.
My public key will be sent to you in a form of like attached to a certificate, right?
Okay.
And all this that we are saying, it is all done automated on the backside, so you don't see any of these, but you have to understand it.
Okay. But then vice versa, if you use your public key to send, how am I going to get the private key?
No, so if I want to use any public key to encrypt anything before I send it, it has to be the recipient's public key that I'm using.
Okay.
I cannot use my public key and encrypt something and send it to you. Then how are you going to decrypt it? So if I want to encrypt it with any public key, then it has to be the recipient's public key, because he has the private key. So when he receives it, he will be able to use the private key to decrypt it.
Okay. Then if you use your own private key to send it to me, so how am I going to get the public key?
So if I use my own private key, as part of the sending process, my public key will be attached to a certificate, and that will be sent to you.
Okay.
Yes. So when your system receives it, it will be able to take your public key out of the certificate and use that to decrypt.
Okay.
Right. So hopefully that helps. Now, maybe this is interesting, so we can probably have another session and go deep into encryption actual, right? This is just the tip of encryption. Now, there are some hands raised. We will address all that. Let's just wrap up, and then we will, open the floor for everybody to. But public key and private key can sometimes get a bit confusing, frankly. So if you take your time and you understand it too, you are going to understand it really well, and it's going to stick. And for some certification exams, or most of it, because they want to confuse you, they are going to, at least you see 3 or 4 or 5 questions on here. Anybody taking any certification exams recently? I know Abdul has done 2. Did you see anything on public key, private key?
Yes.
Okay. So so if you don't understand it, you get all 5 questions or all 6 questions wrong, because they will be asking you. So John is, sending a message to Abdul, and he's encrypting it with which of the following keys should he encrypt it with? Is he going to encrypt it with his public key, and Abdul would decrypt it with his private key, or is he going to? So now, if you really don't understand it, now you're really going to get confused. Just like what I don't remember who, but he thought private key is only used for encryption. Private key can also be used for decryption. So if you don't really understand like the whole dynamics, then you are going to get, such questions wrong on certification exams. If you do understand it too, it becomes a freebie, right? Now let's move into hashing. So hashing, or the hash function, is also another technique of cryptography, right? Now with hashing, some schools of thought argue hashing is also a form of encryption. We can argue that out, but to make it very simple for everybody, and to make it simple for Grandpa, when it comes to hashing, what we do is, for hashing is predominantly used to ensure that integrity of our data is maintained, right? So how do we know that where you put your pillow, nobody moved the pillow, right? So I'm trying to use Grandpa terms. How do we know that nobody moved your pillow, or nobody moved your shoe where you placed it, or nobody took something out of your shoe? or maybe change the lays or something? How do you know? Well, when we are looking at it from a very basic understanding, with the hashing, what we do is we are able to calculate what we call the hash value, right? So a very simple or basic way of understanding this is look at it more. Everybody has gone through TSA, right? You take your bag through their machine. They look at your bag if you don't have any craziness in it, any guns or any weapons in it, right? And it comes out. So let's imagine that machine is the hashing algorithm, or that is the hashing machine. So when you put your shoes through it, it gives your shoe a number, right? Maybe number 5, number 6, or it gives it a combination of numbers. Or let's make it simple, just maybe number 5 or 6. Or let's stick with 6, right? Now, if nobody has messed with your shoe, every single time you put it through that machine, it's going to give you the same number, which is number 6 that we settled on, right? But the moment maybe probably Abdul comes in, Abdul has, used your shoe to go play soccer. He came back and kind of wiped it down and placed it back there. When we put your shoe through that machine again, the value is not going to be 5. It's not going to be 6 anymore, because guess what? There's probably dirt on it. There's some wear and tear on it, right? So it is not the same. It has been tampered with, right? Now, how does this make sense in any shape or form when it comes to cybersecurity, right? So with the data that we have on our systems, the hashing algorithm, automatically, we don't have to do anything about it. It will automatically calculate the hash value. So calculate the hash value of our files. So maybe file A, it has been calculated. The hash value is maybe 6, right? Now hash values are just a random, random numbers. It's not 6, 2, or I'm just making it very simplified grandpa style, right? So if our file, the hash value is calculated already, is 6. If our file has not been corrupted or no malware has affected our system, every single time it is calculated, it is going to remain the same number, right? Once something has happened to it and it is not the same anymore, then the value is going to change, right? So once the value changes, our system is going to send us a notification and let us know that something is wrong with this file or folder or data, right? And we'll be able to do something about it. So hashing, as part of one of the techniques under cryptography, helps us with integrity. So it helps us to identify any unauthorized changes that has occurred with our data, right? So hopefully that helps, and hopefully I was able to do a good grandpa job. Now let's go to digital signatures. Now digital signatures are different from electronic signatures. Electronic signatures are just signing with, just like how you sign on a piece of paper, right? On your checkbook or like whatever. Now digital signatures, on the other hand, it is using some cryptographic functions, and once you sign it, it is as good as your word, or putting your blood on it, because it is you. Nobody else, like, you cannot say you are not the one who signed it. Now with electronic signature, I can say I wasn't the one who signed it. Somebody just imitated my signature and signed it. But with digital signature, because it is using certificates, your cryptographic certificates and your PKI, right? You cannot say, and your certificates are unique to you and your system. So you cannot go back and say it wasn't you. So digital signatures, they are used to enforce non-repudiation, like we explained earlier on, right? So hopefully that also helps. Now, if we just want to stay with these 3, we can stay on it for a while. We are just going to look at some of the application of cryptography in cybersecurity. So we've discovered, or we've gone through, that confidentiality, integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, secured communication. Now, secured communication, encryption helps us to do secure communication. When you are transmitting data from point A to point B, or when the data is being stored, encryption helps us to do that, right? In some cases, hashing also helps us to do that. When we are storing it, hashing, we can encrypt, or we can also use other forms of hashing as well, right? So these are some of the use cases or the application, practical applications of cryptography in cybersecurity. Now we can also protection against threats, data integrity. We looked at all those already. Trust in e-commerce and future-proofing security. So all these you can take time and dig more into them. Now, what are some of the everyday use of cryptography? We all browse the internet, right? When you are browsing and you see in the URL, right, where you have the website address, if you see a big green lock on there, you know that the website you are going is secured. And how is the website secure? What is really securing the website you are going to? Anybody want to chime in? If you go to a website, how is the website being secured? And I mean, I just gave away how to determine whether it is secured or not. The green lock on there will let you know it is secured. Now, how is it secured? Olan, go ahead.
Yeah, there is a padlock.
Yes, like the lock is there, but what makes it secure? Like the lock is just a symbol to let you know that it is transmitting on a secured protocol. What makes it secure in terms of cryptography?
Encryption.
Okay. So what can you break that down further?
Oh, yes. If you're transferring over the internet, it's using protocols like TLS.
Okay.
Transfer layer security to encrypt the information and protect it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. So we have SSL and TLS here. Now, all versions of SSL, best practice, we shouldn't use anymore. And even early versions of TLS, we shouldn't use anymore. We should use latest version of TLS, not early versions like 1.0 and the rest. Now, that is not a conversation for Grandpa. It's a bit technical, so it is still fine. We are here to learn Grandpa style and also learn some technical stuff as well, right? So everyday use, example, browsing the internet, email encryption. When we are sending email from point A to point B, if we are able to encrypt our email and even digital signatures, we are also using cryptography as well. When we sign our emails digitally, yes, digitally, not electronically, digitally, we are also employing cryptography techniques. And then secure messaging apps like WhatsApp, like Zoom, right? It is using end-to-end encryption. Point-to-point encryption is used in PCI, not everyday terms. So end-to-end encryption, like the WhatsApp application that you are using, when you send a message, even the owners of WhatsApp, the owners of the app, they don't see the message because it is encrypted from you to the sender and back and forth, right? Same thing with apps like Zoom and the rest. Now, unless, of course, if FBI wants to have some insight into what type of messages you are sending, then they will have it, right? But until then, it is end-to-end encryption. So nobody, gets to know what you are sending or what we are receiving, right? Now, online banking and mobile banking apps, how are they able to secure themselves? That way attackers are not able to breach the app and steal all our money. Cryptography, right? Cryptography is what is helping us to do that, right? Now we are going to move on also credit card, debit card transactions, still same thing. Cryptography is helping us to do that. Virtual private networks, cryptography is helping us to do that. Cryptocurrencies and blockchain, cryptography is helping us to do that. Wi-Fi security, right? Cryptography is helping us to do that. And file encryption, cryptography is helping us to do that, right? So there is a lot of everyday use cases for cryptography. Digital signatures we talked about earlier, right? And all these are just a repeat from the previous one. So cryptography is helping us a lot. Now, what are some of the problems that we might encounter or face in the future when it comes to cryptography, right? Now, we didn't get into, because of time, We didn't get into all the algorithms and break them really down, but cryptography is based on, or being able to keep that secrecy and the confidentiality integrity is based on our ability to process, or our ability to come up with strategies or come up with algorithms that and ciphers that other people cannot break or crack the code, right? You remember how in the earlier, when we started tonight, we were looking at how the United States was able to crack the cryptographic code of the Japanese, and that is how they lost the war, right? So if somebody is able to crack your cryptographic code, then your cryptographic, so your encryption and your hashing, if somebody is able to crack the code behind it, then it's of no use, right? Now, as of now, we have some cryptographic encryptions, like cryptographic algorithms that have been cracked, so they are of no good anymore. The ones that we have that are very strong, like AES and the rest, RSA, we have SHA for hashing, right? Those are still very strong and used, but as we are developing, technology is getting more advanced. Our computers are getting super fast. Chances of somebody able to crack it is high. So if that is cracked, then we have to come up with ones that are more stronger that cannot be cracked in the very near future, right? And quantum computing is also posing a threat to traditional cryptographic methods like what we are discussing. So that is some of the things out there that you can, really dig more into. So some of the challenges that we might face in the future under cryptography, right? So if there are any questions, you can bring it up. I know there were some questions, there were some hands raised, but if there are any questions for the group, you can please bring it up. And we will wrap up with our business owner training is starting on the 18th. And we have our PCI starting on the 16th. And these are our career paths. So for everybody or anybody on here, if you want to start a career in cybersecurity, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the place to be, where to start. And if you want to, branch into other areas of cybersecurity like PCI and the rest, and if you want hands-on training, cybersecurity hands-on, our PCI, our cybersecurity internship/workshop, where we work on real cybersecurity projects, at least 10 major projects, is what is going to help you bridge the gap between knowledge and your skill, right? So with that, we are wrapping up for tonight. And if there are any questions, so internship is also starting tomorrow. If you've not received, if you are part of it and you've not received the information to the link and all the details, you will receive it before we begin tomorrow, right? So and these are the financing options that we have available for Eretmis Academy. We appreciate everybody's time, and we are wrapping up this time. If there are any questions, please bring it up and we will address accordingly. Now, just from looking at the discussion that was going on, pretty interesting. We might probably do a second round for cryptography. Not next week. We have a guest coming in next week. So maybe probably after next week, we will dive deep into cryptography, and it's going to be more interesting. Look at more use cases and the science behind those use cases, right? So it's going to be more interesting. Now we are going to leave it up to everybody. So mute everybody. We are going to leave it up to everybody, and you can ask. Please raise your virtual hand if you have a question, and we will address it accordingly. Susanna, please go ahead. Not sure if it was from previous, but you can go ahead.
No, I just put my hand up.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yeah.
Doc, my hand is up.
No, okay, wait, please. Susanna had the floor, so you can
okay, sorry.
go after her. Okay.
Okay. So regarding I just wanted to add that regarding the encryption, I think the problem most of us were having, I was having it too, but it's a lock and key system.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to send a message, I have a lock and a key. If I lock it, I have to give you the key. You cannot use your own key to come and open my lock.
Mm-hmm.
The same way, if you want to send me a message, you have a lock and key system.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot give me a key and I provide my lock.
Mm-hmm.
the lock and key has to come from the same individual. I think that's the issue we are all having. It's a lock and key system. So if I send a message, I have a lock, I have to give you a key. You can't bring a key from anywhere to open the lock. So if you want to, the same way, if we flip it around, and if you have a key, you have to give a lock for it. You can't bring a lock from somewhere and use my key, your key to open it. So I think that's how I was able to understand it, because otherwise you will struggle with it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
All right. You're welcome.
So, okay, Francis, please go ahead.
So Francis.
Yes. So Francis, and then we go to Olan, and then we go to
the dog. I want with the encryption. You said something about when you send the this thing, the key. When you send the text, it automatically generates the key for you to decrypt, which it comes with a certificate. I'm asking, with the automatic generated key that's sent to you, that one cannot be hacked, cannot be decepted or something. You get what I mean?
Yeah, like that is a different conversation. So under cryptography, we also have key management, right? And with that we go through how to protect your cryptographic keys. So if you don't keep it well, yes, obviously somebody can get their hands on it, and there goes your encryption, right? So they'll be able to use it. So yes, there is a way of keeping it. Best practices on how to keep your crypto. So we call it cryptographic key management.
Yeah, and on the algorithm, hey, come on. With the algorithm, like hashtagging, like it gave me hashing algorithm. I got an example. It's like a friend gave me some example, and I want to share it here. He told, like, it's like you have a drink in a bottle, which you've taken part of it, like say water, and
say what? The ashes.
Yeah, I think Francis, you had some. Was that maybe probably like your kids were also trying to chime in on there? So you can unmute yourself. Okay, we go to Fabi. Yes, go ahead, Fabi.
Hello, Doc.
Oh, okay.
My greetings to everybody on the line. Doc, quick question. I just need a little clarification. When you're talking, you mentioned, I know I'm even, let me say, is it WhatsApp? Let me say WhatsApp have been saying it, communication is point to point. And you also made us understand that FBI can have access to that communication if it's needed. And that caught my attention. A similar incident happened with a user with an iPhone, and he used it for something bad. And FBI needed to decrypt the phone, but iPhone refused to unlock the phone just because of the privacy. Because we all agree to certain privacy when we're setting up the phone. So how come if the thing is point to point and it's been agreed on that the company cannot decrypt it, yes, still FBI will be able to have access to the information? That I'm a little bit confused about that.
Okay, so that is more on the law. The law enforcement cannot just have access to your information or your data or your communication without permission from court, right? So they have to get, some form of warrant from, like whichever court. And if that is granted, then they can serve the provider, hey, we need to listen in on this person's information because we have this probable cause and this is our permission, right? Then they'll have to, give in. right? But they cannot just, it's just like the police going to the bank and asking how much money does Romeo has in his account. I mean, nobody's going to mind you. They don't care whether you are the police or whoever, right? But if you have like a court, action backing
like a
you,
warrant.
yes, then they have no option, because if they say no, then they are also disrespecting the court, and that will get them in trouble, contempt, right? So that is more on, like that was just a mention, because that can happen, right? So even though, you are doing everything, right, if they have that probable cause and they are able to, a judge in a court is, deems it right to grant them that, then yes, like that is going to happen, right? All right, so we are going to move on to
thank you.
Next person. Romeo, go ahead, and then so it's going to be Romeo, Diallo, and then Uchuba. Good luck, and then Daniel, and we wrap it up. Please go ahead.
Doctor, you didn't recognize me yet. Holland has been raising me up.
Oh, your hand is down now. Please mute yourself if you've unmuted. Go ahead, Romeo.
Yeah, my hand was from earlier, but I think I can still make the point. I was just trying to shed some light on my understanding of the public and private key, right? So the way I understand it, the public key is it's like your mailing address. Anybody can send you a mail, which goes into your mailbox, but you alone has a key, which is the private key to your mailbox that you can use to open that mailbox to retrieve that information in the mail. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. Thank you for the input, Romeo. Good luck. Please go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to say, two things. I had the same experience about the private key. In my own experience, I had to verify, even though they know me, before they could send me the private key, I had to, like, I'm applying for something. I had to verify my name and everything before they I was able to get a private key to get access to the information they sent to me. And also, I also wanted to think, I was listening to a podcast where they talk about Pengasin. I think it's a company in Israel. They had 0 day. It was alleged that they had 0 day to WhatsApp and Apple as well. I don't know if it's completely true, but with the 0 day, nobody knows, and they could get access to our information. Who knows? So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Good luck, Daniel. Go ahead, and then Olan, and we'll wrap it up for tonight. Go ahead, Daniel. Okay, Olan, go ahead. I think Daniel is having issues of muting.
Okay, so I just want to ask, where does cryptography as a service comes into all this? That is one. Then number two, you said hashing only protect integrity. Does it mean it doesn't have to do anything with confidentiality? Because even by the time a data, information, or anything is hashed, you still can't read it. So I still believe it has something, one or two things to do with confidentiality. You can shed more light on that, sir.
Okay, so hashing is not strictly just for integrity, right? In terms of what it is helping to protect, right? Some types of hashing will help also protect confidentiality as well, right? Basic example, when you create an account with any app, your password is not stored as the password that you put in there. It is stored as a hash. Like the hashing value of your password is what is going to be stored. So let's say I create an account with Facebook. My username is best friend. My password is 1234. Now, the 1234 is not what Facebook is going to store. the system is going to calculate the hash value of 1234, keep that as my password. So whenever I'm trying to log in, it is going to take my username, and then it will recalculate the hash value of the password that I'm going to input. And if it matches the password that the hash of the password that I created, if it matches the hash value of my previous password, then I will be authenticated and I'll be granted access. Right? In that scenario, the hashing is not only protecting the integrity, it is also protecting confidentiality of my password. So hopefully that helps. And now hashing.
Yeah. Yes. Doc, I want to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is actually not a question on what you delivered. I'm just interested in joining the internship tomorrow. So can we talk after the class, after the session? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Like shoot us a test or something, and we'll be able to talk afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So Olan, hopefully that helps. Now, hashing, cryptography as a service, right? That is like a different conversation. Now, it's companies who are providing cryptographic solutions, and they are using that as a service. Now, as a service, that phrase as a service started in cloud services that were being provided, and now everybody and their mom also want to classify everything under as a service, category. So, yeah, we will just leave that as that. We can discuss more into that later on. Benedict, please go ahead and we will wrap up.
I wanted to add a little contribution to what we're saying.
Yes, go ahead.
My understanding, the asymmetric that uses the private key and the public key. If I do send you a message, then it's asymmetric. There's no way that you're gonna be able to alter the message that I sent you, even though I share the key with you so that you can have access to decrypt it. But with the symmetric, once I send a message to you, then you read it, you can alter it. If you understand what I'm saying. But with that symmetric, the one that you have the public key and the private key, if I do send you a message, there's no way, because that one ensures the CIA triad and all that. I hope I'm right or something like that.
Not really. So what you are trying to say is, if we are using symmetric encryption to send a message, then it means somebody can encrypt, like somebody can alter the message on the way to the recipient, or the recipient will be able to alter the message.
Yeah, like the recipient is going to be able to make some alteration on it. But with the symmetric, there's no way, because I have the private key to the message. So it's more like to ensure the CIA triad, something like that, if I'm right.
No, but at the end of the day, when the recipient receives it, the message will be decrypted. So whatever they want to do with the message, that is up to them, right? But on the way from the sender to the recipients, our goal when it comes to encryption is to ensure that nobody will be able to mess with it until the recipient decrypts the message and sees the original message. So whether symmetric or asymmetric, we are getting the same thing. Now, the added benefit with asymmetric is a bit more secured, because we are using 2 keys instead of 1. Right. But when it comes to, like when it comes to somebody being able to, alter the message from point A to point B, that is not going to happen, whether you are using symmetric or asymmetric. It is still protected. Right. Now, that is if the encryption algorithm you are using is still secured. It's not the ones that have been cracked already. Right. But assuming you are using like AES, and the latest version of AES, then nobody will be able to crack. And AES is symmetric algorithm, right? Now, if you are using that in combination, and mostly in practice, we actually combine both. Symmetric and asymmetric, they are used together, right? But for, understanding and academic purposes, and for you to understand the science before you even see how they are being used together, if you don't understand them individually as different algorithms, then it becomes hard to figure out how are they being used together, right? Now, if you understand all these, it makes it whatever problem you find cryptographic wise, it becomes easy peasy. You're able to break it down, but if you don't really understand everything that we are talking about, because you don't have a very solid foundation in the fundamentals, then a simple problem becomes a huge mountain for you, right? So I encourage everybody to, even if you don't, have the funds or whatever to get into entry-level course, you can educate yourself, you can, get some more insights into whatever you do as a security professional or as an aspiring security professional. You should continuously learn and grow, right? That is what is going to set you apart from everybody else. So don't wait till you get the opportunity before you get into the books or get into programs that is going to polish you up. Polish up, the opportunity is eventually going to come. It is eventually going to come, right? And I'm just looking at Frank on here. It took Frank almost a year and a half, 2 years to get his cybersecurity job. He eventually got it. Now, if he was not prepared when he got it, he will lose it as faster than how he got it, right? So yes, the opportunities are going to come. I can promise you that if you keep polishing up yourself and, like you keep pushing. So just keep prepping. That is my advice to everybody this year. Become the best that you can ever be as a security professional. And you cannot do that if you are not continuously developing yourself, right? Don't wait for the opportunity to come. You have to be prepared when the opportunity comes. So on that note, we are wrapping up for tonight. If I didn't answer anybody's question, you can please bring it up. I know there are some in the chat and some on YouTube. So, it's 2 months long. So if that was what you're asking on YouTube. Now we are wrapping up. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for always being here, sharing in the knowledge. Appreciate this community more than you can ever imagine. You are all the best. And we are hoping this year we will be able to meet. We are going to meet in person in the upcoming cyber conference that we are going to, Eretmis Cyber Conference that we are going to hold. Still working on the fine print on that one, and we will put that out. It's going to be just around the corner, not that far out, right? And we will meet in person, not on Zoom, at least for this year, and see everybody put names to faces, and it's going to be pretty fun. So I appreciate everybody's time. We are wrapping up for tonight. If you have any questions, anything, all our information has been posted in there. All different courses that we are offering has also been posted. You can go to eretmisacademy.com and you'll be able to get we have all these free courses on there that you can also try your hands on if you've not done so already. And for our interns, we are meeting tomorrow. New interns and the seniors, we are meeting tomorrow. Times have been posted in the different platforms. So appreciate everybody's time. We are signing off for tonight, and Happy New Year to everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will meet again same time next week, God willing. Have a blessed weekend.
You too.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.